Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Kris Kloss, welcoming you all to yet another episode of Xtreme Memories with Kris Kloss right here on the Wrestling Chatter channel. And don't forget to subscribe to the Wrestling Chatter channel on YouTube. We got a whole host of shows on this channel. Not only Xtreme Memories, we have Missed Opportunities, another show I'm involved in, and a countless others. So we thank you for your subscribing. Be sure to like this video, give it the old Arthur Fonzarelli, the old thumbs up, and please share this video. And let's kick it off right now. Another episode of Xtreme Memories, everything XPW. And we want to welcome and thank for joining us on this very special episode. As my old co-host Larry Rivera would say, Chico, it's the Kraq, the Kraq. So yes, man, Keith Selico, otherwise known as Kraq in XPW. Welcome to Xtreme Memories right here on the Wrestling Chatter channel on YouTube, my friend.
Thanks for having me on, man. Thanks for having me on. I've been looking forward to this.
Oh man, me too. You know, you and I, we became pretty darn good friends outside of wrestling, and you know,
Yes.
there's guys that you just click with. Referee Danny Ramirez was another one, and we all just kind of had that similar personality, and so you know, of course, like most people, we just lose touch. So it's awesome seeing you, and I mean, I was honored to be the best man at your wedding, my friend. So to this day, no, really, it's quite an honor. Thank you for having me and asking me to do that. And it's been way too long, my friend. So we'll talk a little bit about that. You can tell us all about that, and we can talk about it. So Kraq, Keith, let's kick this episode off of Xtreme Memories XPW. So you were a prominent player in XPW, especially in the early, kind of like just after it started. You weren't there right in the very beginning, but you were definitely there in the formative years of XPW. Yes. And of course, you gained fame along with your life partner, the Hardcore Homo Angel. Yes, of course, within the world of pro wrestling, this was true, but not in real life, if anybody needs to know that. But before, and you know what? I got to tell you, man, this was a big step for me to interview you, because it took a lot of years for me to get over after you raped me in the edit bay of Xtreme Associates. You know what? I never talked about it. I never talked about it before, and I was basically in denial, telling people that it was just a hemorrhoid problem I was having. But I'm here to tell you that nope, I never had hemorrhoids. If I did, it was very minor. The Preparation H got rid of it. But what you did to me, I don't think a year's supply of Preparation H would help. And so this was a big step for me to interview you here. But no, this is actually one of the shticks in XPW where I was being punished by Rob Black, and it was insinuated that Kraq had his way with announcer Kris Kloss in the edit bay as part of punishment. And I came back to the set, and I remember so I was cleaning the office. I had to do all these chores. It's like I breached a contract, and the Rob Black Army was basically just getting me back, really, because I was speaking out against him as the good guy announcer. And so I had to clean shit out the toilet, do all this stuff, and then okay, Kris, we got one last job for you, and then pan over, and there's Kraq, and then you turn the lights off and goes, we're gonna have some fun, and then all you hear in the dark is, hey, wait, don't touch that, boom, and then and then later on I go back to the studio where Rivera is, and I'm holding my backside. I sit on the chair. I'm like, ooh, and then Rivera's like, Chico, I know what that means, man. I know what that means. I saw you in the Kraq, I knew it, man. And then that's when I claimed hemorrhoids. We were claiming, but this is just one of those crazy moments that you know, we had to keep taking it over and over because we were laughing, and it was just we were just having too much fun with it. And exactly what we were doing, we were just free to have fun. And it was happening in a time in wrestling, not only in wrestling, but just in society. This is the Howard Stern era, where freedom of speech, you know, whether you're offending anybody, it was, and we were just in that mix, but we were even pushing the envelope for a time which was a lot more lenient than it is now, because there was still political correctness in the 90s and the early 2000s, as opposed to like stuff that in the 80s, 70s, and 60s was like free range. So we were doing stuff that was still controversial, but man, like I was talking with Angel, if you look back at some of this stuff we were doing, there's no way it would fly on television today.
Yeah, you're right about that, man. It was a lot of controversial things going on and said, and you know, for me and how I got into the business, I didn't want to speak out against anything, because it was just like, if you only knew, if you only found out how I got here.
I cannot wait. I can't wait to start talking about this. So now that we got the intros out of the way, now we got that little side rape story out of the way. Because if you're just now tuning in, they can't believe that I'm sitting next to you and we're at peace after something like that happened, right? But I digress. Tell me now, before we start getting into XPW, or when we get into XPW, tell this awesome, interesting story about how you got into pro wrestling or XPW.
Oh man, do I have to tell them myself?
You don't have to. You don't have to. But it's hilarious, man. It's hilarious because you kayfabe the locker room, who is kayfabing, supposed to be kayfabing the public. That's all I'll say. You can go from there.
Oh man, well, you know, I've always been a big fan of wrestling ever since I was young. You know, I watched pro wrestling growing up as a kid. I bought numerous magazines in regards to pro wrestling, so it's always was something that was always with me, and I've always wanted to be a pro wrestler. And then it's just funny because at the time I was doing security. I was a security guard, and I was in the area, and a referee of XPWs by the guy named Patrick Hernandez. He just so happened to be walking out in front of the asylum. And he had an XPW hat on and an XPW shirt on. And so I was like, hey, you know, I've heard about this company. And so he initially, you know, started to talk and kind of give me a feel on what it was. And I was like, it's right there. And he's like, so I told him, I said, yeah, well, I'm a wrestler. He was like, you're a wrestler? I said, yeah, man. I said, you know, I wrestle a little bit in ECW. And, you know. And you know, with my size, man, you went right for the top. You didn't say indie fed, you said ECW. ECA Extreme, baby, Extreme. Yeah. I didn't say W. Yeah, I went straight for the Extreme, and that's what XPW product was about extreme wrestling. So of course, you know, that interest is peaked. And so he brought me in. I walked in, I could not believe it, man. And so everybody kind of took to me, and it was like, yeah. And so I found out when they were, you know, hosting practices, and the guys would be there. And so it wasn't so much as the next day, but I showed up ready to practice and ready to show my skills. What little did I have. And yeah, and man, I actually got a chance to meet Rob Black, and based upon, you know, my size and stature, you know, it was just like, wait a minute, you know, we can use this guy. And it was just like being at one of the right place at the right time.
Oh, dude. And I remember Rob took a liking to you.
Yeah, and he did.
Yeah. And he didn't impress easy. Right. And it took a long time for some guys, and some guys just never got that approval from him. And he took a liking to you. You could tell, you know, just by he would bust our balls. He would bust everybody's balls, but you could still tell who he like legitimately, you could tell who he was favored towards, you know, and you were definitely one of them. So not only were you right place, right time, but then the boss just happens to like take a liking to you, you know,
exactly.
And then
the boss, CEO. Yeah.
Okay, so funny story. So you and I is like, this is right at the very beginning, and maybe you're like, because I think you came into the office like after you talked to Patrick. When you came in, you know, and he introduced you and all that. And look, if you don't know, if you're walking through the office and new guys are constantly coming in and out of a new league, and not only do you wouldn't know from Adam, like, okay, I happen to never see this guy, but I guess he's a wrestler. Not only that, but nobody wanted to look stupid. Hey, who's that guy? And like, what? You don't know who that is? So nobody wants to ask and look foolish that they don't know who you are. Right? So you just blend in, and I didn't know, you know. And then, you know, when I found out, you actually told me, and because one of the first days that you were in the office, that was a day they happened to be taking promo pictures with the wrestlers. So you just basically line up and you get your promo picture. Right. And then again, I didn't think anything of it, but you just happened to, that was like your first day, like coming in there. They were
I remember that.
The Japanese photographers were in there. So then fast forward like a month or so, we're at the office and we're just hanging out by the door. There's a door to the office, and then two like doors that push open, double doors, and then there's the ring in the warehouse. So we're just chilling there watching stuff. And then everybody in the office was looking at this Japanese wrestling magazine because they featured XPW. And then there were like pictures of the matches, and then there were individual pictures of like Supreme, White Trash Johnny Webb, Homeless Jimmy, and with their names underneath, like a square picture. And then your picture with the hat you're wearing and the glasses with your hands like that says Kraq. And then and then you're like, and you just whispered to the side to me like, look at this. All I was working a security guard, didn't know how to wrestle. I walk in here and now I'm in a Japanese magazine. Ah! And you start cracking up. And then I'm like, wait a minute, are you serious? And then you're like, yeah, but do me a favor, don't tell nobody. And I was like, this is awesome. Like, you worked all of us.
And then for the XPW to start filming their product on TV, and for me to be in a TV episode for the very first time as Rob's black bodyguard, man, that was huge. And I could not believe it. I was like, I'm on TV. I'm a security guard. And I just could not believe it. It blew me away because at one time you guys were never on TV. And like I said, like you said, it was a time I came in there, they was taking pictures. I took a picture. And then now we're taping for TV shows, and here I am.
Oh my gosh, this is one
it's
of
like
the best.
all in 1 month, man, all in 1 month.
You know what? Because that was right about. Do you remember like XPW TV episode number 1? Do you remember like how early on you were on XPW TV? Was it like right around episode 1, 2, or 3, or do you remember when you first were on?
I think it was like maybe 3 or something like that.
Okay, so basically you're on in the beginning. I'm
on in the beginning. Yeah, I'm on in the beginning. Yes.
Because and you really got on TV once Rob Black became a character and was comfortable doing his managerial, playing the villain and all this, the heel. Then it was like sky's the limits, because now he wants to do these skits in the office. And if anybody wants to talk to Rob Black at the CEO's big desk, it's like you're standing there behind him, just that, you know, doing that grin. And it was like, I love that story, man, because like you just found a way. And yeah, a lot of it was luck and timing, but you ran with it, and you worked us who's trying to work the public. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. All I can, man, you know what? All I could do is just try to picture myself as one of those wrestlers that you see on TV, and just try to imagine myself being on TV and just saying, I can wrestle, I can do this move, I can do this move, but I haven't done anything, man.
I love it. I mean,
all I did was just watch TV. That's it, man.
we're gonna, like, I will say this, like, for all of the detractors out there that think that this isn't like, oh, you didn't put your time in. Look, you gotta, if you don't like that part of it, and I'm a purist too and a traditionalist, but I know this gentleman right here, and he has only good intentions, and it was an opportunity, folks. It was an opportunity. So if you're gonna fault this man for taking an opportunity, that how often does something like this come around? And you know what? He did it, but even though, let's say, you didn't traditionally go through the ranks of going to school, once you were in there, when you were in there, as much as we love joking around, and we called you Jokey. I mean, because you're just naturally a jokester, man, and in fact, just smile and laugh, man. That's contagious, and it was a good thing. It was a good thing to have that in that environment. It was a good thing to have that. I appreciated that for sure, because I love joking around. And again, Danny Ramirez, we just want to laugh, man. I want to laugh.
Yeah, exactly.
Fun. And you once you were in there, though, you took the craft very seriously, and you trained. You did. You played catch up as much as you possibly could, which I will say, because this was kayfabe to the fans, like they no knowledge of how you just starting out, literally how you started in the business. Because of that, I feel like you as a worker were very underrated, because you were going against guys that had years of training, and you picked up a lot of this. Like, you had great matches with Pogo the Clown, because you were both two big men that could move. You had great matches with Vicious Vic Grimes, another big man that could move around and all that. So if fans only knew that you started the way you did, it would be more appreciated. I think that, like, wow, this guy's pretty damn good, and he's a little bit underrated, because again, he didn't have all this training that everybody else had. And you played the shtick. You got wrestling. Like, you understood selling, getting over as a face or a heel and all this. And you ran with it, you had fun with it, and you did not disrespect the business at all. And then you played a gimmick that some guys would just be too prideful to do, or I don't want anyone else to think anything of me. It's like, because and like, I feel like I myself too, like, I tell people, you cannot take yourself too seriously in this business. You can't do it. And you, case in point right here, Keith Selico, like, you were ready to just run with it, because this is wrestling, and I get that. And I think that too spoke volumes as far as, okay, this guy's a team player. He's going to go along with it. And then you got a great gimmick handed to you from Rob and Kevin. What was it like being Kraq and being this, like, eccentric individual from way West Hollywood, California, and eventually teaming up with Angel, the Hardcore Homo, and playing out this dynamic, which made for great entertainment and great television?
Man, you know what? It was like I said at the beginning, man. I wanted in, and so I was willing to do anything, to be in. And for Rob, the history behind Rob, and for him to like me, man. I mean, the guy invited me to his house on a couple occasions, which was really, really, really cool. Kevin Kleinrock, really good person to work with. And it was funny. Kevin was always the one who told me things that I needed to do, like, okay, we're about to film, and this is what I need you to insinuate, and this is what I need you to say and speak on, and kind of go in this direction. And I was all for it. I know who I am, and
Of course, this is wrestling. It's wrestling. It's crazy.
It was really, it was really cool. But you know, as far as the introduction to Angel, somehow they inserted him in, you know, because he had been he put some work and his time into the business, you know, in regards to you know, to the craft. And so they wanted to insert him in there with me. And so I was okay with it. You know, it didn't bother me. And I just wanted to be part of the show. I really wanted to be sure. But look, let me tell you something. Rob, that guy was something else, man. It was so funny. I remember one time, man, let me say this. I remember we was going to do a show, and you probably remember this too. And then I walk in there and I see, you know, kind of like anti-Semitic stuff on the table, like scribbled in and stuff like that. And so, you know how many people were working there? And so, I went, and he looked at me and I looked at him and he said, I don't know who did this. And so he covers it up and everything. But you know what? I never did say anything. I don't know who it was that done it, but for him to do that for me, you know what I'm saying? For him to just not leave it there, and for him to cover it up and to apologize, you know, that was, I really felt the respect that he had for me. You know, there was a lot of love there between me and Rob Black, you know, and again, man, I appreciate the man for just letting me get in, you know, for who I was at the time, you know. And so I owe a lot to him, you know, for just, because I mean, he put me up there, man. He gave me the push that I needed. And I was always happy to just do a show, man. I was always happy to do a show.
I agree. I mean, look, at the end of the day, people have their opinions about Rob Black, and he could be quite the ball buster and the drill sergeant at times. But that was, you know what, looking back on it, like that toughened a lot of us up, and we gained a thick skin because of it. And you know what, I'm thankful too, man, because we wouldn't be doing this right now, and all the other things that I've done in my career, wrestling related. I mean, I was doing wrestling before at XPW, but look, dude, that platform, if it wasn't for Rob Black, say what you want about the guy, but he did give us all an opportunity. And you know, when people call him a mark and all that, you know, look, he didn't wrestle, but I could tell you straight up, like just sitting in the meetings, or not even the meeting, just going in weekly for the XPW TV show and watching him and Kevin, watching them both at the blackboard, just going over the psychology, the intricacies, the feuds, and all that. Like they knew what they were doing. And I don't think he gets enough credit for how much he put into the show, the psychology and all that. And that's I think a good selling point for him personally, because if he's going to create this unlikable heel CEO and the fans are going to believe it that much that they believe that he can't produce a good show, then that character worked, right? That character worked. Yeah. So no, he for sure gave us all this opportunity. And when you talk about like anti-Semitic or racial stuff, like, that was a different time to where like all the boys in the back, all different nationalities, all different creeds and ways of life, but we all have this common denominator and this common bond in pro wrestling, that it kind of took the walls down that we do see in society. That it was just great. Like no one identified themselves or each other by race or by anything like that. But when we did joke about it, it was because we really were just getting along, and we were almost making fun of racism, not necessarily being racist. If that makes sense. Because everybody. Yeah, because it was equal. Everybody got their balls busted over there, man. Everybody for one thing or another. You know what I mean? And that was just part of the experience over there. That was part of like the Wild West. You know, after I talk about this all the time with most every guest, because after XPW, everything had this like cushy safety. We're not going to offend anybody, and it's like it's safe. It's a safe working environment. but that something, that realism, that grittiness is just missing. And we had the good, the bad, and the ugly at XPW, and realism. It was just, everything was real. Nobody was afraid to be themselves, which translated, I think, into the product of a fearless organization, fearless to do all these different angles. And you were a big part of that, of some of the angles with you and Angel, and the vignettes and stuff in the match, stuff that, as I was talking to Angel, like we said earlier, like just wouldn't fly today. And so talk a little bit about Kraq, like when you like, whose idea was it, the name Kraq, and the whole, first starting out as Rob's security guard, bodyguard, then when you transitioned to become a professional wrestler, and then the insinuations between yourself and Angel, and kind of teasing to the audience, like who came up with this? Did it come to fruition overnight, or is this kind of a organic evolution?
You know what? You know, we were talking about Rob Black. They were trying to figure out a name for me, and I was willing to stick with Jokey, you know. And all of a sudden, they was like, "What's his name?" And so he was thinking, and he was thinking. This was right before we was getting ready to record, right before we was getting ready to do a TV tape. He couldn't think it because we had the skit, and I knew what I had to do. And he was thinking, and so Rob came. He's Kraq, and that's what he came. They said Kraq. Now I came up with the spelling for it.
I knew that. I knew. Yeah, I had a feeling, and I don't know if you told me that back in the day, but I think I just knew after knowing you and us becoming friends. I remember thinking to myself, I think he came up with that spelling, man. I think.
Yeah, I came up with the spelling. I just didn't want it to look like Kraq, Krack. Yeah, so I came up with the name, and he kind of turned it around, and you know, he had asked me, you know, cut my hair, and he wanted me to have a certain look. And so what happened was, I think I had a blazer. I was trying to do something close to, remember how the Big Boss Man was, but he was called what was his gimmick at first?
Big Bubba.
Bubba Rogers.
Yeah.
So I came with a blazer, and he was like, "Nah, I don't like that." And so then I said, "Well, you know what? I had bought a few things." I said, "Let me see if he likes this." So I came in there with the vest on. I put the leather jacket on. I put the hat on, and I had the glasses. And then, man, he gave me the thumbs up, man. He gave me the thumbs up, and that look came because at one point I was just featured with just a XPW hat, some shades, and a t-shirt. And so that was right before we was doing a show at the LA Sports Arena. And we doing a show at the LA Sports Arena, and basically my whole, you know, that's when we had Terry Funk was there. Great guy, man. I mean, great guy, man. Terry, I couldn't believe I used to watch this guy wrestle when I was a kid, but I was doing some work. You know, I did some work with Terry Funk. Yes, I did some work with Terry Funk, which was really wonderful. I'll never forget it. And somehow, some way, they like inserted Angel in there, and they were we didn't want to put anything to the forefront immediately. It was kind of like, okay, we're going to kind of like mystify the fans a little bit, kind of give them like question, like what's really going on. And it wasn't until I had a match with Pogo the Clown, which was technically my very first wrestling match one-on-one. I did a lot of other matches, but there were a lot of run-ins and getting hit over the head. Yeah, but this was my first match with Pogo, and then that's when they introduced Angel. And towards the end, man, I knew the camera was on me, and so I put Angel over my shoulder, and all he had on was these tights, these red tights, and they were halfway pulled down. And I remember smacking his ass right in front of
Yeah, and then
and that kind of gave everybody an idea. But I remember going out there on the microphone saying, "Give me my Angel. I want my Angel. You got something of mine. And everybody was like, who is Angel? When Pogo drug him out there, man, and they seen, you know, it was kind of like, what's going on here? You know, kind of, yeah. And we kind of like evolved from there. And so Rob would, you know, have these things going on in his office and have me talking, you know, while we're taping and basically explaining myself. And it's kind of giving him a hint, like, you know, like, hey, I really like this Angel guy. And, you know, I really want him to be there with me when I go out for my matches and stuff like that. And so we kind of like, it was all his idea, man. I didn't have anything to do with, like I said, I just wanted to be part of the show. And I had such a blast. And, Angel's just a real good guy to, you know, to work with, and we had no problems whatsoever. There was never any disagreements. It was always, you know, always love, man. It was just nothing. I mean, we never had anything to where I felt he was doing me wrong or he felt I was doing me wrong. You know, we came up with spots, and these spots would entertain the fans, man. And it was just fun, man. And I
remember you guys never really had any problems, like you said, never doing each other wrong. But I remember one time there was a little bit of heat. Angel was like not liking. You felt like you were doing him wrong when you didn't use the lotion and the lube, but that was a different story.
Yeah.
How ironic is it the two guys that really do in real life get together with no drama in real life are the guys on TV that have this like couples drama and all this is hilarious.
Yeah, on TV. Yeah, we have it. Yeah, because he, you know, Pogo was really taking a hold of him mentally and physically, and you know, I didn't like it, and that's the reason why me and Pogo were going at it, because you know, Pogo had him kidnapped for a while, and you know, during that kidnap stages, you know, he traumatized him, so everything, you know, that it would evolve around Pogo. I remember we was doing this thing, and you know, he's over there putting makeup on, he's trying to make his face look like Pogo, and that really, you know, that really pissed me off, man. So that was one little spot, you know, we had, you know, on that was part of the TV taping show, man. And so it was really funny, man. And I remember he was like, it's not a total loss, and they showed the bed covers, and it was little spring pop. then the lights went out.
right. And then when he would like wake up and have nightmares, and then you would console him.
Yes.
Good stuff. And thinking about this, like the storyline and all these gimmicks that you guys played out. You guys were probably the first ever. I mean, they did little hint angles like this in WCW and WWE, like, but to this level of like pushing the envelope with
yes.
like the homophobic buttons and all this stuff, like probably up until that point, you guys were the first in an entirety of professional wrestling to take that. There have been flamboyant characters, of course, throughout wrestling, but this was the first time, because again, we're in XPW, who's already pushing the envelope with basically everything it puts its hands on, and then now you add this to the equation. Oh boy, sky's the limit. And we were just doing stuff that, like, we knew at the time, love it or hate it, like we knew it was like historic in a way, because this is the first time, especially on a televised product, that anything like this had been done, like pushing the envelope this much with like two, let's say, characters that were together, you know what I mean, gay characters, but never saying that's what it is. It was like these hints were like way over the top, like, okay, it's obvious, you know. And then
it's you know, and all our spots had something to do. There was a portion of the spots in the ring where, you know, there was a little bit of intimacy during the match, man, and that was the fun part. We always had to introduce that. There was always something that made the crowd go, whoa, you know. And I remember this one time we were wrestling Big Grimes, and you know, I always Well, I would say 99% of the time I'm coming up with the spots here. And so I remember Vic threw me into the ropes with my back into the corner of the ropes, and then he threw Angel to the same position as I was. So then, now we're compressed against each other. And then Big Grimes comes in there and he smashes both of us to the rope. But Angel stumbles and falls to the middle of the ring with his butt up in the air. And then here I come, stumble, fall. Yeah, right behind him. and position myself like in a doggy style position. And I mean, you should have seen the crowd, man. They all stood up and started clapping, man.
Yeah, and that's when you guys like, it's like the Birdcage with Nathan Lane meets the Three Stooges. It's just like perfect, with Nathan Lane and Robin Williams. It's La Cage du Fort or whatever it's called. But yeah, it's like it was just perfect, man. And again, you guys were able to, in reality, get to a point where it's like, this is wrestling. I'm not going to take myself seriously, and I'm going to dedicate myself to this character. And
yes,
that's at the end of the day, that's all it is. Like, if you're playing a part in a movie, it's a part in a movie, So, so there's this little bit of suspension of disbelief, though, in professional wrestling that even tricks, I think, some of the people that are involved in wrestling, that like, you should be looking at this like you're playing a part in a movie. What's the difference? If you really understand the business, then you should understand that.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, working with Angel, that's great. I mean, I remember you guys were both awesome, and you guys worked very well together. So again, you've had some great matches with some prominent guys. You talked about Pogo the Clown. You talked about Vicious Vic Grimes. And going back to when you first started in the business, you yourself, a big guy, 6'3", 6'4", you were what, over 320 pounds, right around that mark. So you going against a guy like Pogo, a guy like Vic Grimes, it was a good match because you guys are all big men that could move. And just keep in mind, folks, when we're talking about, those stories of Keith coming into the office and people not knowing if he's a wrestler, what would you do if you saw a guy 6'3", 6'4", over 300 pounds at a wrestling training? I think I would think this guy's a pro wrestler. And that's what we all do. I just love that, man. I think that's the greatest. I think that's awesome.
Pull the wool over you guys' eyes.
and I tell you, and I appreciate you having confidence. We're joking about it now, but you did not want that to get out. And I understand completely, because you don't, as much as we appreciate it now, you don't know who that's going to offend. Like, again, this guy started, I've been going to wrestling school for 10 years.
I know.
Right. So I appreciate the fact that you chose to tell me about it. And I maybe thinking, I would appreciate that. You're taking advantage of an opportunity. Because at that point, and at that point too, you already proved to yourself that you were respectful to not only the business but to the boys around you. So as far as I was concerned, like, that's fine. Like, I don't care if you went to the school now at this point or not, and all this. So now that you're working, you're actually a professional wrestler, not just an indie show. You're on a product that's on television nationwide, syndicated nationwide. You're on home video that's distributed worldwide. You're in Japanese wrestling magazines. What was going through your head, like, when you were like, when this all started, when you went home at night and like telling your family, like, were they like, wait a minute, how did this start? Like, what the heck?
Yeah, you know what? I had them food too, and it was like, you're gonna get in big trouble. You know what? You're gonna go in there and you're gonna hurt yourself.
Okay.
And so I was trying to tell him, no, I'm not really wrestling. I'm just a bodyguard, and I'm just walking around the ring and stuff like that. And it was crazy, and I couldn't believe it. But I thought, I said, this is a dream come true. This is something that people dream of, and here I am living the dream. And that's how I really thought of it, just going in. I was like, I cannot believe it. I'm actually on TV, I'm actually wrestling. And I'm looking at guys that's been telling me how long they've been wrestling for all these years and things like that. You know, and here I am. I just walk inside the office, tell you guys I'm a wrestler. You guys buy into it, and next thing you know, I'm on TV. Like you said, man, I'm in Japanese magazines. You know, I'm wrestling, and then the cool part about it is I'm actually wrestling guys from ECW who who defected over to XPW. Yeah,
just like yourself.
Like myself. Yes.
Patrick Hernandez, this ECW alumni here he is.
Yeah.
So I got to ask you, man. Now that you're in there, and man, hats off to you for pulling that off. Honestly, man. But now that you're in there, you're starting to. There you go, man. Now that you're in there, if I could ask you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you probably want to answer this question, and you're chomping at the bits to do so. But who was your favorite and least favorite guys to work with in the ring?
Oh man, you know what? My favorite guy to work with was Vicious Vic Grimes, man. That he was a cool guy, and I remember that day we had to go up against each other, and we went over what we was going to do and how the storyline was going to go. And it was the King of the Deathmatch tournament, and this is my first time competing in the King of the Deathmatch tournament. I mean, they have spikes in the ring, they have barbed wires,
and this was at the LA Sports Arena, correct?
No, this is at Patriot Hall.
Okay, so that's right. So at the LA Sports Arena, you weren't wrestling yet. You were just as the henchman for Rob Black at that point.
Yeah, taking bumps.
Right, you had some run-ins and all that. And,
yes.
And I want to get back to that, but yes, please continue. So this was your first match, and this was Vicious Vic Grimes. What a guy to go against! Or no, not your first match, because the first match was Pogo at Metal Fest in San Bernardino.
Yes.
Now you're officially like working. So favorite guy to work with, interesting, Vicious Vic Grimes. But please continue this.
And I remember the King of the Deathmatch, and you know, barbed wire, thumbtacks, and glass out on the outside. And I remember telling myself, I was like, I am not about to go through no glass. I am not about to go through no thumbtacks. You know, you guys sit up there and bleed and everything like that, and I'm not about to do all that. And then I was telling, I think I was talking to Angel. I was telling Angel that, and he didn't say anything, you know. And so I was walking around like, man, I'm not about to do all this, because the end of the match was for me to be dropped on a bed of barbed wire. And I'm like, no, I'm not. In my mind, I'm thinking I'm not doing it. I'm telling Rob I'm not doing it. And so I said that. About 2 minutes later, Rob comes up to me. He said, hey, you guys went over what you needed to do. I said, yeah. He said, so you okay with it? I said, yeah. and it happened, man. And I went through that barbed wire, and I oh my God, I thought I was going. I said, oh, my back is going to be torn up, because this is real barbed wire. Yeah, this is real barbed wire. And so we went through, and I came through unscathed, man. But I remember telling myself I was not going to do it, and I was trying to figure out who they going to get to replace me. I said, it's going to be the first time. I said, well, this is my last. Well, I had fun while it lasted. And Rob comes over, man. I think if Rob not asked me and it was anybody else, I probably would have told him no. But because it was Rob, I said yeah.
Yeah, we've all been in that position, and something about Rob when he. But you also look at the end of the day, if you're gonna make that decision and make that choice to be all in the beginning, and you make that commitment to yourself to continue to be all in, those are the times when we're all gonna do and say things that maybe we disagree with, but it's part of being a team player in a way, you know.
Yes.
and putting yourself over, because that's what wrestling is. You got to take care of yourself at the same time, but you have to do it while it's also taking care of and making the product better and making sense. You have to be a team player, and get yourself over, but you got to do it in a way that's beneficial for the product as well.
Yes.
And I think if someone sees that in you, then they're going to run with you. And that's the professionalism that you showed, because you wanted not only to put yourself over, but you believed in XPW, Keith, and you were all in. And and so, by the way, that was, pulling it up here on the computer, that was 2001, February 24th, My Bloody Valentine. And you're right, from Birmingham High School. That was Vicious Vic Grimes against yourself, and it was the King of the Deathmatch tournament. Yes. And what a way to kick off your second match ever in professional wrestling.
Yeah, and I gotta say, I mean, I think probably the least person I didn't really want to work with, man. I was like, I hope I never get in there. I've worked with him on some run-ins, a lot of run-ins, by the Rob Black Army and stuff like that. But New Jack, man, that guy was, he scared me, man. That was one guy I thought outside of the ring, he probably kicked my ass.
Oh man. Okay, yeah, and you know what? You're not alone. You're not alone because I mean, if anything you want to say about New Jack is like, just watch out, don't get on his wrong side. And so you guys, so you never had a match with him, but you had like a run-in where he was beating up the Black Army and you took some bumps.
Yeah, use various instruments to beat us down with on a couple occasions. Yes.
Right. So how was that? Like, I know you said just now, basically you painted the picture, but can you give us any specifics, like how it was when you first met him? Was there like this weird tension? Was there animosity? Like, or what was it like when you had to like converse with Mr. Jack in the back?
You know what, New Jack, to me, he just was. It was kind of like, I can't say it was a bad vibe, but it's like it was some tension there, and he was kind of one of the least guys I did. See, I got along with everybody, and he came around. It's like I had to watch what I had to say around him, in fear that he may go off, cuss me out, say something derogatory or something like that. So I had to really watch my words with him. And sometimes, man, he used those instruments, man. They can put a hurt. You can put a hurting on you, and right. That's what happened to me on, seemed like all occasions that I came into contact with him. And I don't know if I share the same experience. I don't ever recall anybody else ever talking about it, but I just remember, he was just like one of the guys I kind of like stayed away from. And just, he just, I don't know, man. I just couldn't talk to the guy, and I had to work with him, and we worked. And sometimes there is those types of relationship that does go on, because you're not geared up to get along with everybody. But he never said anything negative to me. It was just, I just felt like some of the things he did say around other people was just like, this guy had me shaking my head a lot of times, and I was just like, let me just kind of stay away from this guy. And that's what I did. And it worked out for me.
Good. And yeah, I don't think you're alone. I mean, that was just one of those things where you could tell he was just one of those guys where, like, even though maybe nothing personal is going on, but like, whoa, I could feel like, this guy, I'm just going to give him his space. If he wants to talk, great. But if not, I'll let him have his space, and that's it. That's it. And no disrespect, no nothing like that.
No disrespect. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we're all on the same page. Dude, speaking of Birmingham High School, is that where you went to high school?
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. I graduated and played football there, man.
Did you ever think in that fashion you would be returning to your alma mater in the form of XPW?
No. But I remember when they said we had to wrestle there, and I was like, hey, man, I went to school there. So I was familiar with where we had to wrestle at already. It's like I was trying to figure out where did I used to sit at during the basketball games.
That's awesome. And then you played football on the field, but you only watched the action in the gym until now. Now you're a player in the gym with XPW.
Yes. Yeah, and I loved it. Hey man, I loved it there, man. I used to love doing matches there, man. I loved it, man. I loved it. Great times, man. Great times. I wrestled Big Dick Dudley there. He was a late Big Dick Dudley there too. He wrestled him. I got Vicious Vic Grimes there. Who else did I wrestle? A lot of run-ins with me, with Sabu, you know. So it was just some fun. It was just some fun times, man, to be there, man. Really was.
Yeah, that venue was interesting because it was after we were at the LA Sports Arena, and it was before we went
to Grand Olympic Auditorium. Yeah.
Yeah, and so you would think, yeah, which I do, like the television product, just the legitimacy of the company took a notch up when we were at the Sports Arena and the Grand Olympic, as opposed to as opposed to being in a high school gym. But my memories of that, though, it was like, and we were talking to other guests here on Xtreme Memories, was that, say what you want about comparing a high school gym to the LA Sports Arena or the Grand Olympic Auditorium, what you can say, though, is the vibe and the energy and the excitement and the electricity in that intimate high school gym gave it a little bit of extra. There was a little extra something there that it's great being in the sports arena. And don't get me wrong, I'll never complain about that. That was one of the greatest moments ever in my career, sports arena and the Olympic. But you don't have that intimacy, that loudness that you do in the smaller venues. And that Patriot Hall, Birmingham High School, man, there were some electric shows with just the audience. I mean, it was insane, the vibe and the energy and just the like rage going on within the audience. And
it fit our product, man. It fit our the fans fit our product, man, in there, man. Yeah, it was nice.
It was, and performing there, and then when we move on to the Grand Olympic Auditorium, this was at a time when things were starting to kind of shift and change within XPW. I mean, they kind of always were, but different guys were coming in. It's interesting, by the way, when you say your favorite guy to work with was Vic Grimes and your least favorite was New Jack, being that those two guys, the history that they have with one another, happen to be your favorite and least favorite, you know?
Yeah. You see a lot of shoots with them talking about each other.
Exactly. And look, man, at the end of the day, you have an amazing story with almost to the point where I'd say you could write a book about this stuff.
Yeah.
And how you got.
Hey, entitle it, I Walk Right In.
Yeah, but just and then now the reader needs to walk right in and open to page 1. Here we go.
Yeah, there we go, man. Here we go.
So yeah, but like the way you walked in, and like you said, you worked with some of the biggest names in the business.
Yeah.
New Jack, Grimes, Terry Funk. I mean, and all the people that came through XPW and on and on.
Hey, I say this? Can I say this?
Yes, sir.
There was one guy who used to scare me when I was younger, watching wrestling on TV, and I actually got a chance to work with him. Cool guy, Abdullah the Butcher.
Yeah.
At the LA Sports Arena.
He was one of those guys that when you were a kid, it was like Kamala was like that for me. Like I remember.
Yeah.
I was afraid of that guy, right? And then Abdullah, no different. Like he was, and I think I remember even like when he came to the back, the fan in me was like, oh, what's he gonna be like, and like still living that a little bit because he was so great, he was so believable, and like you said, he was total professional, and again, man, like the way you got started and what you accomplished is just phenomenal, man. It's I love it, man. It's like a Cinderella story in a way.
Yeah, it is. It actually is. for me, you know, for me to put myself in there like that and go as far as I did, you know, at the time, you know, and just kind of learned as I went along, you know, learned the business. But the main thing I would say is that I had respect for the business. And I think that carried me a very, very, very long way, you know, with that in mind, you know, and I just I kept that, you know, so.
It was huge. And that, yeah. And if we joke around, if we goof off and pal around, the knowledge and the knowing that that joking is happening as priority as priority number 2, right? Yes, the whole time, exactly. The foundation of being back there was respecting the business, respecting our product, and respecting the boys. And then now that that's established, boom, now we joke around, right? And so yeah, we're having fun doing what we love to do, right? And I remember you talking about, like, it was no surprise that you understood and were a big fan of like old 70s, 80s wrestling.
Yes, I was. Yes.
What was it? Silver Dust, Dusty Rhodes, and all that you would mimic in the back, and yeah.
Me and my good friend Stacy Jackson, man, that I used to bring in the match. Yeah.
Stacy was cool, man.
Yeah, me and that guy, we talked about wrestling from the 70s to the 80s to the 90s, and you know, he was always there, and he's been a good friend of mine since 1993, and that's all we used to. As a matter of fact, we worked together as a security guard, and we would always talk about wrestling from the time we got to work to the time we got off. But yeah, we used to be back in the backstage mimicking the old wrestler promos, man.
Yeah, and that in itself was practice, man. You're taking what you know, and you're taking what you understand now, and not only that, but you're a fan of the product, obviously, and also some of the favorite promos, like you said. Now you incorporate that with having this direct experience with working in the business. You marry those two together, and
yes, I did.
Yeah, and then you organically create your character now, and you build on a character that was already created or thought of by Rob and all this. But now you're applying your knowledge and your understanding of the business from being a fan. But now, again, you're not only working these live shows, because you're at the office quite a bit. So you're watching. So you're watching the television product. You're watching the production angle and aspect of the business, and so you caught onto it extremely quickly, more than probably anybody, with the, walking in and all that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So very, very interesting. So now we kind of fast forward. What was the end for you? What was the last show, and how did this happen? Because I remember when you were gone, there was no real announcement for it, and I just kind of like was caught off guard, because I think remember, we were, for those who don't know, Keith and I are pretty darn good friends.
Yes.
You told me about it, so I didn't know, to the point where I'm honored to be the best man at your wedding. So I'll talk about that in a second, and how you introduced me to the congregation and all this. But first, let's talk about what happened. Like, what was the exit for you in XPW?
You know what? I was doing some, I got a little cocky, and so I kind of was doing things that wasn't, part of the storyline. And so I think after the third time that I conducted myself in such a way, it was time to part ways. I remember showing up to a show and being told that I wasn't gonna perform, and it was like, okay. And then I was told again another show, and I was told I was gonna be performing. And so I mean, I was always there, at the shows in the background, but I just wasn't allowed to perform no more. And that was pretty much the exit for me. But I never stopped attending the shows. You know that.
Right. I remember that.
Yeah.
And look, at the end of the day, like, that could have been, correct me if I'm wrong, but that maybe was part of just the inexperience at the time, because you were thrust right into this thing. You were thrust right into this thing, and you took it seriously. You had respect, but maybe the little things like you were saying, where you maybe took liberties and tried to change something. Some guys did that and it worked, like talking to Angel, talking to Leroy, but maybe they just saw that, like, okay, you know, I can understand that, because when you're out there in the audience and you're getting over, part of wrestling is ad-libbing. So it's splitting hairs to say what works and what doesn't work, and what the right time is and what the wrong time is. So it could be anything, but I mean, now that you mentioned this, I do remember that part of it. But you were still there. You supported the boys, and
exactly.
Yep, and you were still rooting for the product, and you had no sour grapes, and that was part of your personality. No, that was part of your personality. You're definitely the glass is half full type of individual, where you looked at the positives of, like, wow, look at what I accomplished, look at what I did, versus like, okay, I'm not being used anymore, and a testament to yourself. So who knows where it could have gone, but you and Angel, again, great vignettes, great promos, when like talking about, like, hey, we're going to go play leapfrog down at the YMCA in a little bit.
But I don't leap. I don't leap.
Oh, geez. Like I was talking to Angel, and like we talked in the beginning, like, none of this would fly today. It would be cancel culture. You would be
definitely.
No, it just wouldn't happen. I'm not going to get political at all here, whether to say that's right or wrong. I'm just putting it out, the observation that just wouldn't fly today. And like we were talking to Angel, even though you guys got over with an audience that is necessarily would never want to cheer like this storyline of these two gay guys getting together. Yet you guys got that over in a somewhat, let's say, traditionally homophobic audience. So in a way, you guys did a good thing. In a way.
We did.
But unfortunately, even that, nobody would want to dig into that and look at that now. It'd be canceled without any thought to go into it. But you guys did something totally different. Not only did you do this where you were the first to do this in the business, to go to this extreme with this type of storyline, but you became the face. You became faces and not heels doing it, because the crowd ended up cheering for you on their own. Right?
Yeah, on their own, yeah.
So that says a lot, dude, for you guys, the psychology you were using, the talent that you guys had as far as performers, right? To get the crowd to like you guys. And I think a lot of your true personalities, you and Angel John, you guys are both likable guys in real life. And sometimes that translates and transmits and peeks through to the audience as you're playing this part, whether it's wrestling or film or otherwise. Sometimes, not always, but this can happen. And I think that was a big part of you guys being likable and getting over with the fans.
Yeah. I used to like it. And I just remember the ring crew guys, you know, I used to always beat them up when
yeah.
That was kind of my staple of coming in the ring, man. And it was funny because a lot of those guys would you know, try to get close to me when I'm doing a match, because they know that I would hit them.
Oh, awesome. And it's like I remember you were like one match, the security or the ring crew had to separate you and somebody else as you're going back to the dressing room, and your opponent had already left. So there's no reason to restrain you, and there's no reason for you to now mess with security. But you were just going up to them, beating them up when there's nothing going on. There's nothing happening. Right? You were just and then after you beat you insteed of going back to the locker room, you would go the opposite way just so you could get a ring crew guy. I mean, I could see how somebody, and Kevin would be like that too, and Rob, but I personally appreciated that, and like I thought that could probably work and get tied in to your character. But maybe they were just at the time like wanting to like go by the book, you know. And that's another thing. You just never know when a promoter or a booker is like in that mind frame, or like, oh, let's just look at this open minded, see what will happen. It's all luck. It's luck, man. I mean, you had the good luck in the beginning, but maybe a little bad luck right there as far as like
it's all good. Yeah,
it's all yin. It's like yin and yang. It all flows together, you know.
Yeah, like me. Yeah, like me having you for my best man at the wedding.
So I get the honor of, and it really was an honor to be the best man at your wedding, and I pull up to the church, the Baptist church in Inglewood, California, and let's just say I was the only thing people needed to wear sunglasses to look at that event, right? So which is an honor, which is fine, of course, but all I could say is this is what happened. I get out of my car for the rehearsal, and about 20 people from the congregation, family and friends are there, and I don't see you. Right when I'm about to introduce myself to the folks, you run out of the church and say, "Hey, everybody, this is Kris, the best man. If it ain't white, it ain't right."
Yeah.
with that laugh attached to it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, man!
It's like being the only cotton ball in a bowl of charcoal.
Well, you know what? All I remember really is that introduction, and I don't think anybody ever. I remember after you said that, it was like, But man, good memories, dude. Good times, and thank you for. I mean, yeah, it's a privilege to just for you to think of me like that, and I to this day thank you very much, Keith.
Yes. We were that close.
What's up? Say again.
I said we were that close.
Absolutely, and it's funny, we haven't talked to each other in years, but right before we started recording this, we got on the phone briefly right before this, and it's like it's like we could have stopped talking for like 5 minutes or 15 years. And it's just, we left off right where we start right where we left off. Absolutely. Exactly. So no, I appreciate that. So listen, Keith, man, it's been a pleasure. It's been great talking to you here on Xtreme Memories. Before we go though, you know, you talked about the late Big Dick Dudley, who you had a match with. Unfortunately, recently, a couple months ago, the passing of another legend that we lost, Supreme, the human horror film. And so talk a little bit about him, talk a little bit about your memories. Of course, you also already shared Big Dick Dudley. We lost a lot of guys, you know. Another good friend of mine who I miss, who was a great guy, I thought, another fellow Black Army member of yours, was John Cronus.
Yes, John. Yeah.
Oh, dude, he was awesome, man. And so again, if you have anything you can share about Dynamite D, Supreme, or Cronus, and we'd all just appreciate anything, any little thing you could share about these guys and attribute to them.
Yeah. You know, Dynamite D, great guy. When I did have the opportunity to come down there and try to elevate my wrestling skills, of course, he was the instructor at the asylum. He always took the time to teach me, you know, the craft in the ring, and so I really appreciated him. I had an opportunity to work with him one time, which was a very great match. I remember he came in as Jake the Snake, Dynamite D. One of my good matches, man. One of my favorite matches. I love that one. But you know, Dynamite D was a great guy, very great guy. Never had any problems with him, man. I hate to hear that he had passed. I think it was you that told me that John Cronus had passed, because I remember I had spoke of him as if he was still alive, and that's when you brought it to my attention, and and it kind of struck me because I believe we was at a show when you told me that, one of the reunion shows, and
okay.
and it bothered me for a long time, and I couldn't believe it, and John was just cool. I worked with John, and so many times I worked with John, because again, he was part of the Black Army, and so we've always got along. We wrestled against Mexico's Most Wanted on 2 occasions, me and John did. So, I hate to hear that. Big Dick Dudley was very good guy. I worked with him. I think Big Dick Dudley was probably one of my second matches that I had, and and he really went out there. I mean, the guy talked a lot in the ring, and I was like, in my back of my mind, I'm like, come on, man, they gonna hear you,
Oh yeah, interesting.
but he did, but real good guy. But Supreme was at one of the reunion shows. It was the main event. It was Angel.
Cold Day in Hell.
Yeah, it was a Angel with me, and we had a valet. I'm trying to think of her name right now. Amanda.
Amanda.
Yeah. Amanda. Exactly. And we wrestled against Supreme in that main event, and Supreme did an incredible job. But very nice family man. Man, I met his wife. I met his kid, I remember after the shows, me and Supreme would talk. And you know what? It wasn't until I was playing this pinball machine, and what was Supreme saying? He used to come into the ring, what's my name? Or who am I? Who am I? And so this pinball machine started going, who am I? And I'm like playing, it was Frankenstein. And so I was like, who is that? Yeah, so it clicked. It dawned upon me. That's where he get the Human Horror Show. And Supreme used to always wear like horror t-shirts. So that's where he got it from. And so I was like, that's where he got it from, But Supreme, I worked with him on some storylines in the ring. Superb for the guy of his size and stature to be able to move like he did, from the ring. I thought he was very talented. I hated to read that he had passed away, and it saddens me. I'm still shook up by it because I was, at some point I was hoping we'd do another show, not a show, but maybe like a reunion where we all get together again, and it's unfortunate that if we did do something like that, he wouldn't be there because he's the true definition of the king of the death match, man. He is the true king of the death match champion, the true king. He will always be the king of the death match, man. That guy puts on some great work when he does those death matches like that. Really good. And I'm gonna say that about Supreme,
Well, thank you, Kraq, for sharing that. And I couldn't have said it better myself. And I couldn't agree with you anymore. But yeah, we basically we want to pay homage to these guys and talking about the reunion show, the one I was referring to, Cold Day in Hell, which was one of the great death matches ever, was him versus Necro Butcher.
Oh yes.
So, yeah. Woo! And that was a great, it's on YouTube. So fans, check that out. Pay your respects to Supreme and watch that. It was basically Icon versus Icon, the East Coast Necro Butcher versus the West Coast Supreme. You don't get any bigger than that, at least in the United States, for death matches, and worldwide too, because Supreme and Necro are both respected all around Japan, everywhere, all around the world, and have gone to different continents to perform. And so, so thank you for sharing that. And that was the same show where you and Angel reunited at Cold Day.
Yes.
Yeah, and that was great seeing you back in there. And then you took the glasses off, the hat, and then that's when Rivera almost had an aneurysm. Is it Kraq? The Kraq? The Kraq? I was telling John Angel that they were trying so hard to like find a way to put like the dirty dancing song, when I had the time of my life. They wanted to do that when you guys, but you know, nothing ever happened because of copyright issues and all that.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
Hilarious.
I wanted them to play Reunited. Reunited.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, there's some things that are just out of our control. But
exactly.
But no, that was a great seeing you at Cold Day in Hell, and that was the first time we saw each other in a long time. And buddy, I think if I'm not wrong, that's probably the last time we saw each other.
Yeah,
you and I. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy how time flies, and my goodness, like we're gonna talk more when we hit the stop button here. But Keith, Kraq, Mr. Selico, I want to thank you very much for joining Xtreme Memories here on the Wrestling Chatter channel. And man, you're welcome back anytime. And thanks for sharing. Fans, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video. Give it the thumbs up, and please tell your friends and send it on out. We are out. My name is Kris Kloss for Kraq, Keith Selico. This is Xtreme Memories. It was great interviewing you and catching up with you, my friend. Guys, we'll see you next time right here on the Wrestling Chatter channel with more Xtreme Memories.
Thank you for watching Xtreme Memories, hosted by Kris Kloss. He's dropping new episodes every month on the 15th and 30th. You can be the first to tune in by subscribing to the Wrestling Chatter channel right here on YouTube. See you next time.